ser uno, unidos en un clamor.
Hola amigos, les habla Nancy Quinn. Bienvenidos a su programa Una Mano Amiga, donde juntos hacemos la diferencia. Hoy estamos compartiendo con el señor Brian Lambert de Granted Wishes, Deseos Concedidos, una organización que se ha comprometido a conceder deseos a personas que se han dedicado a trabajar toda su vida, preocupándose y ayudando a todo el mundo excepto a sí mismos. Muchas veces es imposible realizar algunos de nuestros sueños por razones económicas. Es entonces cuando Granted Wishes le ayuda concediéndole ese deseo. Good afternoon, Brian. Welcome to our program, Una Mano Amiga.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. I was just explaining to our audience that your organization specializes on granting wishes
Yes,
to
ma'am.
individuals that have worked all their life and they've never been able to kind of like do something really special for themselves because they feel that their mission here is to be helping others rather than themselves.
Correct.
So do you want to share a little bit about how this program got started?
Well, Granted Wishes was started essentially on July 23rd of 2010, and it was after the death of a resident of an apartment community that I'm a part of in Tampa, Florida. George was an 80-year-old man who lived by himself. He had no family or friends. He had no, he wasn't a very social person with his neighbors. So he lived a very isolated life. And whether that was by choice or just happenstance, it was what it was. One day we had another resident that came to our office and asked if we had seen George. And we all kind of looked at each other and said, no, I don't know, I haven't seen him. And so we started getting a little concerned because George was a man of patterns, and we knew what those patterns were, and we would see him every day walking back and forth from the grocery store and getting lunch and whatever it was. And then we started to flash back and realize that we hadn't seen him in quite a while. So we started sending people over there to knock on his door and check on him, and lo and behold, long story short, he was found deceased in his apartment. We then called 911, and the coroner came out and determined that he died on July 9th, approximately July 9th. And it was July 23rd when we found him. And his body was in an amazing state of decomposition. It was out of a horror movie. And it was, at that point I didn't really think anything of it other than it was an untimely death of someone that we had come to care about tremendously in the course of the 2 years we were able to know him. But it was after that I started thinking that something's wrong with how he died. It was quiet, and it was unknown, and it was uncelebrated. And not that celebrating death is a good thing, but it's more celebrating the life that he had, and he had no one to do that with him.
And somehow it was somewhat unfair, right?
Completely unfair. It's I regardless of who you are and what social status you hold, what job you have, whether you're, what race, nationality, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're a human being, and to die the way that George died was just something that I found completely unacceptable. So I took that experience, and I took it home, and I was processing it however I could process it, and for maybe in the form of my own healing, because George was really close to me, this idea just came into my head. And that weekend, I put the entire program together. I picked the name, I built a website, I wrote policies and procedures and applications and guidelines and rules and everything. I did everything that entire weekend. And proud to say a year later that we've been in this, not one single thing has changed from day one. So the power of that healing process that I was forced into created something that fills a need, and clearly fills a need, because again, nothing has changed in over a year. We operate the same way today that we did as a thought a year ago.
Right. I'm going to share with our viewers in Spanish a little bit on how this got started. It's fascinating. It lets everyone become aware that we need to pay a little more attention to people around us. Many people have no family. They have no one to take care of them, and they end up the way that your friend George ended. So, amigos, estamos conversando aquí con Brian Lambert de Granted Wishes, Deseos Concedidos. Él nos está explicando cómo comenzó esta organización y fue resultado de un amigo de Brian llamado George, quien falleció y falleció completamente solo en su apartamento en la ciudad de Tampa, Florida. Esta persona pues tenía unos patrones de vidas, los cuales pues él conocía porque eran amigos. Entonces el día menos esperado pues Brian se dio cuenta como que hacía días que no veía a su amigo George y resultó ser que él falleció en su apartamento y no fue hasta entonces 3 semanas más tarde que se dieron cuenta que él había fallecido. Cuando llegaron a su apartamento, su cuerpo estaba en estado de descomposición. Una historia muy triste, muy lamentable. No pensamos en una mano amiga definitivamente que no es de la manera que un ser humano debe experimentar la muerte, ¿verdad? No es justo. Pensamos que aunque personas no tengan familia, aunque no estén acompañados de alguien que les esté ayudando, deben haber personas que se preocupen por cada cual y que se preocupen por el estado de su vecino, de su amigo, de su familiar. Queremos preguntarle a Brian qué clase de deseos o qué clase de sueños es que la organización Granted Wishes ofrece a estas personas y la edad, porque esta organización es bastante fascinante. Fíjense, amigos, ellos tienen una edad donde ellos comienzan a trabajar con estas personas desde la edad de los 40 años hasta los, ¿is it 65? From 40 to 65, right?
40 to unlimited.
Okay, so es desde 40 hasta edad ilimitada, hasta los 100 años, mis amigos. Queremos preguntarle ahora qué clase de deseos es que esta organización concede. Brian, what kind of wishes is that Granted Wishes offers or fulfills?
We identify people through a process which we can talk about in a minute, but as far as what the wishes are, there really is no limit to what that is. I mean, other than it's very clear to point out that we don't provide physical items. We won't buy you a car.
Okay.
We won't loan you money to pay rent. We won't pay your mortgage. We won't do those physical kinds of things. We like to consider what we do as providing an experience, something that they can go do that basically gives them a memory for the rest of their life. A car, the life of a car is limited. Once cash is spent, it's spent. Rent's due the next month. So we don't feel that those types of things are really beneficial to what it is that we're trying to accomplish, which is helping people recover from isolation and depression and relearn how to socialize and become part of society as a human being and as an adult, and be able to enjoy your life and not feel the need to have a feeling that nobody likes you, nobody cares about you, and nobody's willing to be there for you because you may be on the lower income scale, or you may be handicapped and you can't leave your apartment for one reason or another. So we focus on wish fulfillment, or I'm sorry, experience fulfillment.
Experience. I'm going to share briefly what we just spoke about. Básicamente, este programa, esta organización no se dedica a comprar cosas, no se dedica a comprar automóviles, no se dedica a pagar su luz, no se dedica a comprarle una casa o pagar su hipoteca. Ellos lo que hacen más bien es que se dedican a ayudar a personas a salir de esas depresiones que causan la soledad. Y esto sucede mucho aquí en los Estados Unidos y en todas partes del mundo. Ellos son una organización que trabaja con personas a través de todo el mundo. Van a ver los números en la pantalla, el teléfono y su correo de internet para que usted se comunique con ellos si sabe de alguien que está pasando por depresión por causa de la soledad, que pueda comunicarse con ellos. Ellos lo van a ayudar. Más bien ellos se dedican a crear experiencias que duren toda una vida, cosas que muchas veces como seres humanos nosotros, pues como mencioné al principio, pues no nos ocupamos porque simple y sencillamente estamos muy ocupados en asuntos que tienen absolutamente quizás nada que ver con nosotros mismos. Ellos se ocupan de que las personas pues sepan que tienen valor, que son amadas, que tienen a alguien con quien contar y que pueden llamarlos si se sienten solos, si se sienten tristes, y van a tener personas que lo van a ayudar con esto. What was the first wish that was granted? Do you remember?
I do. Ironically enough, it involves George, and it was one of those things that, again, it just happened. It just as part of the process of it being meant to be. And in his will, we realized that he had written down that his one wish after he died, and those were his words, were to be reunited with his wife in Chicago, where his wife passed away. A little quick stepping backwards as far as George goes, his depression and his isolation stems from this world that he created for himself. And when we talked about George, or talked with George, it was almost like you were talking to him like his wife passed away 2 weeks prior to that conversation. And Helen this and Helen, and I miss Helen, and Helen and I did this, and it was all like current. And we found out after the fact that she had actually died in 1985. So
Wow,
he
that was a
had
long time
created
ago.
this world that was his comfort zone. So his life after she died was spent mourning her and wanting to be with her. That's it. That's what he focused on his entire life. So when we found out that he wanted to be reunited, it was not even a question that was going to happen. And I spent my own money to help facilitate this happen. Some of my awesome family members helped contribute. I have great friends that tremendously support what we do. So they donated, they contributed to a little bit, but the majority of that came out of my pocket to make that happen. So he was cremated, and that part was done by the county. They took care of that because his body wasn't claimed, so they cremated him. We had to buy the urn. We bought the urn, made arrangements for him to be shipped to Chicago, made arrangements with a cemetery up there, which was Hillside Cemetery in Hillside, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. Anyway, the cemetery that he was transferred to, we made arrangements with them and scheduled the day based on what my travel arrangements that I could make it up there. We also found out that he was a Navy veteran. So,
wow. So he had benefits also.
Well, he did, but there was a lot of them that, we were going to try to get him a military gravestone. But he had already pre-purchased his own gravestone, so there was already one there, so he didn't qualify for that. And then the cemetery didn't allow certain emblems that we were going to try to get to honor his military service, so we couldn't get that. But we got him there, and we arranged with the Great Lakes Naval Station and their honors funeral division to come down. And we had taps was played for him, folding of the flag was done for him. American Legion Post in Chicago came and did a military benediction for him. So it was the whole military experience, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. They folded the flag, presented it to me, which I have in my office in Tampa. We also arranged for him to get his Presidential Military Service Recognition Award, which means he is recognized now in the White House as being a military, as being served in the military. So we got a certificate honoring that and signed by President Obama. The things that we did were, again, just things that should have been done by his family.
You went above and beyond what any of his relatives
would
have done.
I think they may have done it had he had any.
Right.
And that's the problem. That's what it is. Our mission is to get people to understand that don't push that little old man in the corner because you don't know what he has or doesn't have. And with him, we were talking earlier that it took 4 months to get us to bury him with the dignity and respect that he deserved. Whereas most family members, someone passes away, the funeral's in a week.
Right.
And the family comes together and does the family thing in the morning and the celebrating and all that kind of thing. Well, George didn't have that. And we had to play the military red tape with the VA hospital and the government to get all these services approved to allow us to do them because we weren't family.
Exactly.
So, I don't think it's something that we expect to change on the federal level as far as how to recognize family members and who can assist. But I would like to think that if there's anybody out there that works with the government, may want to drop in someone's ear because if what would have happened to George had we not come along is he would have been buried in a county gravesite, probably unmarked, and forgotten about.
Wow.
And to me, that's criminal. That can't happen to anybody. Again, regardless of race, color, creed, age, circumstances, socially or financially, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You're a human being. You deserve to be treated in life and in death the same way.
Lo que nos comparte Brian Lambert es que el primer deseo concedido fue a su amigo Jorge, su amigo George. Él cuando muriera pues quería que lo cremaran y que lo llevaran al mismo lugar donde estaba enterrada su esposa en Chicago. Lo que la organización hizo, porque él no tenía familia, fue todo, amigos, de la A a la Z. Fue un proceso bien largo, duró 4 meses, pero ellos pudieron hacer todo eso que quería George que sucediera en su vida al morir. Y eso fue lo que esta organización hizo. Ellos consiguieron quien lo cremaran, ellos hablaron con el gobierno federal porque él pertenecía a las Fuerzas Armadas. Entonces, como no tenía familia, pues por eso se demoró tanto el proceso, ya que ellos, como son amigos, pues tuvieron que pasar por un sinnúmero de sedazos para poder llevarlo hasta Chicago y enterrarlo junto a su esposa. Ese era su deseo. Y como no tenía familia, pues él no sabía cómo eso iba a suceder. Luego de que ellos lo encuentran en su apartamento, pues deciden honrar ese deseo que tenía George. Well, this is fascinating, and I really believe that by you being a guest on our program, people will be aware of the need of what your organization is offering. And your services are provided in which areas of the United States?
We're based in Tampa, Florida, but we have no geographical limitations.
Okay.
The only thing that would limit the fulfillment of a wish or the interview of a potential recipient is funding. Obviously, we're working towards becoming an affiliate member with airlines to assist in the offset of airfare, which is, in most cases, is 50% of the expense of the wish. And it's very, very costly. And it's sometimes some of the wishes, due to medical restrictions or other conflicts that these people have, are sometimes short notice, which obviously increases the cost of airfare. So funding is our only limitation, but if we get an application from Chicago or Seattle or Dallas or Minnesota, it doesn't matter. We will find a way to facilitate that application, that interview, and that wish.
Great. And where can they contact you if they would like to either refer someone that they know deserve to be granted a wish, or that would like to donate to the organization and help granted wishes, honor wishes?
Like most businesses, our website is full of information. It's a very well done website, very clearly marked. It's easy to get through. There is if you want to learn more about us, obviously you can do that there. There is a how you can help button, and that will link you to a donation page. That will link you to you can download our application, which provides information of the potential recipient plus the referring person. So we fill out those, fax it to us, email it to us. You can, again, the donation, we have a separate donation page. We have a fundraiser that's going on that you can donate specifically to that event also. The website is simply grantedwishes.org. Our email address, if you want to email us, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can reach us at admin@grantedwishes.org. And our phone number, I'm near that phone 24 hours a day, and I will answer it 24 hours a day if it rings personally. The number is 813-965-0805. My goal, I'm transferring my career path to doing this full time because there is such a tremendous need for it, and we are the only organization of its type anywhere in the country. So my passion is, the goal of my passion is to get our word out there as much as we can, and if it's a 24-hour thing for me, then that's what it's going to be until we get this issue resolved.
And that brings me to the next question. What are the long-term goals for Granted Wishes?
Our long-term goals, again, we are Our headquarters is Tampa. We do have affiliate chapters in 4 or 5 cities now: Binghamton, New York; Raleigh, North Carolina; Seattle, Washington; Plattsburgh, New York. So we have a few that are out there, but as this develops and as we see the country inevitably embrace what we're doing and realize, wow, there is a problem, and wow, there is somebody that can now help. Our long-term goals are to be a fully nationwide operating organization by Christmas of 2012.
Great.
And again, the popularity and the comments and the feedback we get is amazing. It's overwhelming that people see what we do and realize that there is a problem, and now there's a source to help people with suffering from loneliness, depression, isolation, suicide, those types of things.
And the whole goal is to help them conquer that
Completely.
that isolation and depression.
Exactly.
This is great. How do you feel that those goals will be achieved?
Well, the way that we have shown that we're going to identify whether we're successful or not is the list or the database of recipients that we grow over the years and over the months. Again, what we haven't talked about this, but how the program works is the wish part of it is really a gift, and that's not the main goal of the program or the main concept or the main factor of the program. That is basically to take someone that's identified as being someone who has served everybody else, as a mother, as a father, as a teacher, as a neighbor, as a church member, as someone who cares about everybody else, but just never takes the time to do something good for themselves. So what we do is we fulfill that wish, whatever that wish may be, and once that wish is fulfilled, they're maintained on our database for the rest of their life. And what that means is, unlike the majority of the wish-granting organizations that I've identified, give a wish and then
Follow up.
don't follow up. We do.
You're going to follow up, exactly.
We the person that conducts the initial qualification interview with each recipient is basically someone we call a wish agent. And those are the core group of people that really make this what it is. I head it up, I run it, it's my idea, but I'm not taking any credit for any of this. It's the wish agents that do the work. They identify, they interview, they qualify, and they travel with the recipient on their wish with them. Once the wish is fulfilled, that wish agent stays assigned to that person forever. And what that means is we've required those volunteers to, in exchange for the travel that we provide for them with the recipient, there's a cost to that, and that cost is committing yourself to being that person's friend. We require them to make a personal contact with them once a week, whether that's a trip to church, the grocery store, doctor's appointments, the movies, if that's what they so choose to do. Whatever it is that recipient wants to do for that experience, for that day, they do it. We cover the cost of the movie or the bowling or whatever it is that they choose to do. 3 other times during that week, the wish agent is required to make additional points of contact with that person. Again, whether it's internet, phone, personal contact, they have to follow up with that person just to give them that social network and that feeling of family structure.
Just embrace them, right? Give them love. Make them feel like they're
make
worthy.
them feel important.
Make them feel important. Make them feel like they can make a difference. Because what you're teaching these individuals too is that it's like pass it on, right?
Correct.
You can do the same thing for others.
It's
or
the
you
pay
can
it
refer.
forward.
Exactly.
And it's ironic that you do say that, and I apologize for interrupting, but that's a good point. Because we have not had one wish recipient right now that hasn't said, oh my gosh, I know someone, that hasn't referred someone to us. So it is a pay it forward. And you know, we have a lot of people that have said, you know what, I don't want to accept your gift because I'm not worthy. So we take the angle of, okay, well, I'll make a deal with you. We're going to do this for you, but because you always want to help people, we're going to let you, as part of the program, help someone else. So we help you, you help someone else. That's how it works.
That's great. Amigos, esta organización está trabajando arduamente para que estas personas de entre las edades de 40 a 65 años que se sienten deprimidas porque están solas, porque no tienen familia, porque se sienten menos, porque se sienten cansados, que han trabajado toda su vida ayudando a otros, pero ellos han pasado a segundo plano. Ellos se están encargando de que se sientan amados, de que se sientan aceptados, de que se sientan que son parte de una comunidad que quiere ayudarlos y que quiere exhortarlos a que no caigan en esa depresión que generalmente suelen caer estas personas cuando se sienten solos. Hemos llegado al final de nuestro programa.